Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome to the Kenganda Facebook Live. Welcome to the Kenganda Facebook page. First of all, those of you who may not know who we are a YouTube channel that looks at bridging the gap between people on the continent, people in the diaspora, African Americans, Caribbeans, so much more. Guys, we're going to just jump right in. I have a guest here with me. We did a live before, but you know, we had to come back. So he's going to come on here and join me. So we're just going to talk about how some West African countries are getting rid of France's influence in that country. Is that a sign for other African countries to also do the same? Is that the way forward for most African countries? Will that injure them? Will that stop the aid? Will that push some African countries to economic depression? I'll just have him come on right now, tell you who he is, and let's just dive right in.
Yo, my name is Edwin Segawa,
yes,
aka
please.
Shello. Thank you for hosting me on this show, representing the ideas of this generation of African young men and women, the young leaders.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, what do you think about the topic for today? What do you think about this? What do you think about what's happening in the West African countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and whatnot? The coups that are happening, them getting rid of the French military. Some countries want to give up using the French currency too. What do you think about that?
First of all, I don't know if any West African country has really ever gotten independence from France.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I mean, this is specifically Niger. Niger's currency is printed in France. It's decided by France, and the rates against the dollars and every other currency is decided by France. Mm-hmm. The minerals in Niger are first exported to France, and then France determines the rate at which they are going to sell, and then they give the proceeds. I mean, they decide how much revenue of the total revenue got from the sales of those minerals, how much of it can be taken back to Niger. So, as a matter of fact, Niger had always been a colony of France until recently. So I think Niger has just got independence. So when you base on the list of countries that have been colonized by France, that had been colonized by France before, you're looking at Ivory Coast, which is virtually still a French colony, because the incumbent president was by design put in power by other French. I mean, those on the ground know that. I mean, those who can follow history know that. Mm-hmm. So, okay, there is Ivory Coast, Dahomey, there is Mali, Guinea, Mauritania, Niger, Senegal, and Burkina Faso, that were former French colonies. Mm-hmm. So this kind of the breaking apart of this whole thing, and Russian flags being seen, and Wagner fighters being talked about being in Niger or Burkina Faso, wherever they are, basically, I think Africans have finally got an answer on when to really have their independence through the controversial Putin. I'm not a supporter of Putin 100%, but I saw this coming. I saw this coming way back.
What do you mean you saw this coming? What do you mean you saw this coming? You saw some African countries actually siding with Russia.
You remember when Russia sent an envoy to South Africa? Mm-hmm. And the South African heads of state and other people and the opposition began to support Putin. That was a sign, because everything comes back to Russia at the moment. They are controlling world affairs. And before there was that so-called war against Ukraine, Putin had made it clear that we want people to know our position in the world affairs, and that's exactly what he did. So when you see Wagner kind of stopping to fight in Russia, and then suddenly you see them all of a sudden in Niger, and the French flag and the Russian flags flying, you know that, total independence has come. And for me, I would celebrate this because these guys have been really ripped clean. They have been exploited beyond measure because you cannot have a list of gold, uranium, so much that even the French government came and basically explored uranium from you and then sold it to Russia and sold it to Iran and sold it to every other nation. And then you remain broke. How long are we going to be so broke like this? It's a form of witchcraft. We're breaking away from we as Africans, breaking away from the colonial masters. I think we are basically stopping witchcraft of the West that has been dominating Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well said. We see that you've mentioned about the West African countries siding with Russia and whatnot. Do you think they're going to be able to maintain what it is they're trying to achieve?
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The friend of my friend is my friend. You remember what the Burkina Faso president, the 35-year-old, said? He said, whatever had to happen, yes, I know I'm the youngest among all of you here, when he was talking about when the Putin was meeting the African heads of state. I'm the youngest among you, but what happened. It couldn't be avoided. We reached a place which we had no option but to liberate ourselves. And that is a message. And that message sent chills down every spine of every African dictator. So I'm glad. Finally, we have somebody who can answer us the way we really want to be answered, as a matter of fact. And because, for instance, in Uganda, that was a British protectorate. I'm just giving an example. Protectorate meaning that the British were kind of protecting Uganda from being colonized by France or Belgium, basically just to keep, because of its pivotal position in the Eastern Africa. So they kept Uganda as a protectorate. I'm giving an example. And so, this is away from France. We're talking about Britain. Then we shall get back there. So, in this kind of scenario, Uganda began to develop very fast.
Yeah.
And the Milton Obote government, I'm not a UPC fan or whatever, or Obote, I wasn't there.
Okay.
But I follow history. So it began to develop at 7 times the speed at which Kenya was developing. So they had to come up with a puppet. Idi Amin Dada, one of those former gold medalists in kickboxing, So when people learn, in every African school, we learn politics. Whatever we learn in East Africa or whatever we learn in South Africa is also learned in West Africa. And if you follow the politics of Ivory Coast, how the French dominated and colonized Ivory Coast to this day, because the army kind of running the government in Ivory Coast is actually French army. They went there under the arm of the UN peacekeepers. We have to be very honest here.
Okay.
Yeah. That the whole saga began during Ban Ki-moon's being General Secretary of what? Of the UN. So we know all that went behind there. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know most viewers do not know this, but as a matter of fact, that is what happens. Most African heads of state are puppets of the Western world. So when Russia comes up and says, hey, I'm going to give you a new history, total independence. You need to run your things, you need to run your businesses, and you need to exploit your resources to your own benefit. You need to develop your country. You don't have roads. You've been living on aid. Whatever you have to do, you have to basically run to Washington or Europe to get funds. That's how Uganda now comes in. And then they say, hey, the IMF or whatever it is, or World Bank, they say, we're not going to fund Uganda because of A, B, C, D. You understand? And then Museveni says, we don't care. It's okay. So basically, we are seeing a shift in leadership. And most Africans are actually applauding this. And so much that even Nigerians, graduate students or undergraduate students in campuses are willing to go and fight in Niger, to defend Niger against every Western influence. I mean, that has been all over social media. They are willing to take up arms and go and fight on behalf of Niger. And that's just one. So what about the other countries that really want to get rich? I mean, on their own and develop? Because Africa is embedded with resources. We're one of the richest continents. Actually, if not, we're the richest continent on the world.
Okay.
Yeah. On the world, on Earth, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Speaking of the World Bank just recently has stopped funding, has suspended new funding to Uganda. So what the World Bank is saying is that no new public financing to Uganda will be presented to the board of directors until the efficiency of the additional measures has been tested or something like that. So World Bank has stopped sending fund to Uganda. Is that not like the Western trying to influence certain things in African countries?
You know, what I like about World Bank, it's a bank. It's not a nation. So if World Bank is trying to interfere with the affairs of a sovereign state like Uganda, I really think that that is way too far. They need to hold up a little bit and just watch and say something and be like, hey, you guys, you've grown up. I think we need to let you run your own affairs. You have your own culture. And that's what makes the world diverse and a better place to live in. We as Africans have our own culture. We grew up living our own ways. So if World Bank aligns itself with a kind of move that we don't know how long has been existent, and then sticks to that and says, hey, we're not funding you, then I think they're not being the World Bank. They are basically abusing the rights of Ugandan citizens. If the Ugandans signed into law, whatever they signed in, or the president of Uganda signed into law, then they need to talk to the president. They should not deprive Uganda of resources. Let them deal with the president of Uganda. Why would they deal something which is harsh and far-reaching on the local citizen, on the woman who is struggling in the village, of the elderly who are basically living on nothing, on people who want to access health facilities and have no roads, on people who are basically living on a ratio of let's say $1 a day or less than $1 a day. These people are actually basically fighting the people who are under the regime of Museveni. They should stop looking at a whole nation as one man. Museveni is representative of their choice of leadership. But if they are to fight for whatever community they are fighting for, whether they're homos or no homos, of course I'm no homo, whatever they are fighting for, they should know that their funds are to help the common man and not the president. Well, if they are funding the president, I think they could go ahead and do whatever they want to do. But here we are, and they think they're benefiting us, and they're the World Bank, and they're trying to stop aid that could basically aid over 47 million Ugandans just because of one man. I think they need to think twice. That is madness. I think the World Bank needs to go to some kind of psychiatric kind of mental facility or some bit of When you read the article for the World Bank, they were citing that they want to give, they want to be inclusive and have everyone on board, whether they're gay or lesbian or whatever it is on the alphabet. Yeah, I know. They want to be inclusive of that. So if the country does not include those people into their plans, the World Bank... The country already included those people in the plans, otherwise they wouldn't be existing in the country, first of all. How is that? How did they include them in the plans? Those are Ugandans who grew up in Uganda. They grew up under culture. They were Baganda, they are Bateso, they are Bacholi, they are... there's so many, like over 32 tribes in Uganda. Yeah. So... And these are that's really diversity. Uganda itself is representative of the world. If they say that a section of the population has been left out, let me ask: do those people do they have a representation in the parliament? Because all tribes have a representation in the parliament. All regions of the country have a representation in the parliament.
Yeah.
So the people who are represented in the parliament have a voice, and that is their member of parliament. You understand what I mean? Eh?
Yeah.
Even the ladies have voices. So if the LGB do not have a member of parliament, then I don't know how they could be basically included. It's like saying, hey, because that means even witch doctors need an MP. Even drunkards need an MP. Even the rebels, Joseph Kony, needs representative. I mean, that kind of thing. Because if Kony is fighting against the government or is against whatever is happening in the country, citing out kind of policies that do not, whatever it is, and is busy hiding, then the World Bank should consider every person who has been opposed to the government, who has never passed the approval or the applause of the Parliament of Uganda. And they really have to think twice. Because I'm also a Ugandan, by the way, by birth. And probably one day I'll be working with the UN or even the World Bank itself. But I have to tell them that, hey, when I come in the World Bank, I'm not going to represent people or segregate a nation, a full nation of over 36 million people because of a few individuals who have a school of thought that it's good to have sex, whether anal sex or lesbian or gay. You understand? And they have not yet kind of promoted the agenda the right way. I mean, we can do nothing about it. They just have to basically channel the things the way they're supposed to be channeled. The World Bank is basically mandated for the human rights, for the welfare of humankind, and not just a couple of individuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said, you talked about the woman in the village suffering. Like the consequence of them not giving aid is that someone in the village might suffer, or like so many people are going to suffer about it.
To be honest with you, I see a whole rebellion coming up.
Really?
From Uganda against the World Bank, and these are children, and these are dependents of people who are actually trying to work in the civil service of Uganda, in the public service, and normal communities. Because that money that is supposed to be released, part of it is contributed by people who are Christians, who are born again, who are Muslims, who are so strict. So already the World Bank is segregating even the use of their funds. The funds are supposed to honor a nation as a sovereign state, not a couple of individuals. That's why I'm saying that, okay, if they want to do that, then they should also bring up the whole thing about Joseph Kony. You understand? And every other person, every other fugitive, everywhere, even the ADF probably. And say, hey, we're not giving you funds because you're fighting the ADF. Because they also have rights in their thinking. So that's why I'm saying that is witchcraft. That is madness. You know, that's why they need kind of psychiatrist counseling. And I'm willing to go and counsel the World Bank, by the way. I could even pray for it blessings. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. Because they are being idle and disorderly. Yeah, and I don't mind is the devil's workshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've kind of hinted about everything I wanted to ask, because my question initially was, the old woman that is going to suffer, will there be some economic consequences for the country?
Yeah.
You've also touched on that, because so many people are going to be out of jobs because of this aid that was coming in to the country and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you think, what diplomatic implications could arise from this?
Diplomatic, can you repeat that? I was just reading at the Facebook comments on the page. Can you just repeat that?
For your viewers.
As I don't know when the comments are coming in there, because I really want someone who can understand
what you're talking about.
Yeah, this witchcraft right now currently going on, you know?
And
these guys want us to lose independence, so they want to come up and also set up another puppet president of the country. You know what I mean?
The thing is, Uganda does not just receive aid from the UN, from
the World Bank.
Where is the World Bank located?
Okay.
Yeah?
That's a good question.
Because we may be here talking.
Yes, and it's right now in Uganda right now, you know? So many things happen. It could even be in Russia, Moscow. I mean, of course it's not, but why? World Bank, can you first deal with the Ukrainian crisis?
It's in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, World Bank, can you please first deal with the Ukrainian crisis? And then probably we could be happy when we know there's no more fighting in Ukraine before you come to Africa, because we have a lot on our hands right now. We have so much drought, we have a lot of exploitation, and you're still controlling our funds. World Bank, please. Oh, can I put it like this?
my question was, Uganda doesn't receive aid from the US alone, because I think Germany also does give aid to Uganda and whatnot.
all the world powers.
Yeah. So do you think that will affect the other aid coming in from all those other countries?
No.
Or it's just the US that's going to drop us and then the other countries will still carry us on?
No.
What do you mean no?
No, because we have Russia, who are actually building a nuclear power plant with, let me talk a little bit like Trump, who are actually come to our aid, and with South Korea, and they're building 2 nuclear power plants in Uganda, and that does not include US or whoever you've said, Germany. So, World Bank, I need you to think twice. If these people can come and do certain things for us for free, including China, funding certain things, then don't you think you're a little, not World Bank, your Western Bank, okay, Colonial Bank? I mean, this is really bad.
It is?
Yeah, because I'm coming to take over that position of World Bank president, and they really have to listen to someone like us, at the end of the day. So, yes, we are affected diplomatically, but we still have our passports and our visas, and their citizens still come to the country. They want to tour the Pearl of Africa. Pearl of Africa. Do you know Uganda is so endowed that about a third of the country has gold beneath? And these people think we do not know. We have diamonds. Just outside Kampala, there's a town called Wandegea. The whole of Makerere University, Wandegea, and most of the Western Belt has diamonds. We're endowed. We
Which diamonds?
Oil.
Diamonds or the diamonds that you're talking about?
Yeah.
What diamonds? I know Wandegea, please.
Yeah, man, there is diamond right beneath Wandegea there.
Are there diamonds in Nakawa too?
There's Wandegea, diamonds. I'm just giving you something. If you want something, go to Entebbe, the meteorological department. They'll show you about minerals of the country. Uganda is one of the richest countries in East Africa. A third of it has gold. And the other third, a quarter of it has diamonds. And there is oil in almost every place. I mean, we have uranium, we have rare earth, which is used for making smartphones, smart everything, technology. Yeah, in the Eastern. So what don't we have as a country? And these people are trying to keep us poor. Well, we shall ask Russia to come and colonize Uganda, and 50-50, if they can give us more of our mineral resources, fund our whatever explorations, I think we could really be rich. I mean, at the end of the day, the West needs us. We are the future of the West. Without Africa, the West cannot exist any longer.
Wouldn't you say that's being proud? Wouldn't you say that's being... What if that's not true? What if the country crumbles?
During slavery, the West came to Africa for human resource. Post-slavery, the West comes to Africa for resources, mineral resources. After all this, the West is going to come to Africa for intelligent resources. Africa has always been resourceful. Recently, a young boy in Nigeria started generating electricity out of a rock. I don't know if you saw that anywhere. I mean, we are basically blessed. I'm really happy to be African, and I'm glad this is King Anda's show. Proud to be African. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yo, all of you watching out in the diaspora, we need you to keep liking this page and following closely. There you saw that.
You know what? That's the perfect way to end this one.
Yeah, but I did not tell you about the history of Ivory Coast.
Oh, please tell our viewers the history.
It's one of the countries which has been dominated by France. Ivory Coast got independence in 1942. It was ruled
as you're getting your facts together.
Yeah, it was ruled by the president until 2002, and then Gabo took over. Gabo took over. He was not a puppet of the French, because he was opposing the French run government. So he came in as opposition and took over. So the French went and connived and said, hey, there is someone. Ouattara was actually, do you know Ouattara, president of Ivory Coast, is actually originally from Burkina Faso? He was actually adopted into Ivory Coast by the previous president who ruled since independence. And he was basically groomed and mentored. Mm-hmm. So the French come in and encourage, sorry to say this, come in and encourage Ouattara to take over. And Ouattara failed during the elections which were organized. Why? Because the founding president or the original president was diagnosed as sick by a doctor, which results up to today are still being contested. Mm-hmm. So he gave power to the Speaker of Parliament, who happened to be Gabbo. Okay, let me not go in there because normally I like checking out these things. So the current man is another puppet of the West, and the French basically have fully colonized Ivory Coast. And now eyes are on Ivory Coast because it's the French soldiers who are running the government of Ivory Coast, basically. They came in there as peacekeepers to keep peace between the factions of Gabbo and Ouattara. So that's how they came and say, hey, we are bringing in peace. So I wouldn't go so much into that diplomacy.
Yeah. What would be your last remarks about this?
This is what I can say. Mm-hmm. Brace yourself for more unfolding in Africa.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you, right now, the youth are dancing. It's a new wave of a new face of African leaders who want to exploit basically their own mineral sources or resources, and then live a life large. And they are willing to challenge the West, whatever it costs. So I think that things like World Bank stopping aid to Uganda, they really have to check. Because you're basically rising up, you're causing an uprise and an outburst on the African continent. The West really needs to check its diplomacy. Why? Because they are losing a war against Russia. They have failed to contain Russia. Belarus is warming up. And this is really bad. The West first needs to address the issues in Europe before it comes to Africa, and needs to respect the sovereignty of the independence of African states and stop putting up a puppet presidents. Yeah, because that is just one. The youngest leader, who's 35, of Burkina Faso, and is encouraging other leaders to come up. And basically, Julius Malema, the South African opposition gentleman who's soon taking over presidency of South Africa, is also encouraging, as in like he's saying, yeah, whatever happened is really great. We have to protect and maintain our sovereignty as a free Africa, as a united Africa, as a wealthy Africa. And basically, Africa is going to be the face of the world. Whatever they do to Africa is basically showing the weakness of the Western powers. So I think they need to go back, sit down, do another blueprint or brainstorm on what they should do next, and see how to include the new group of African leaders, including me, who's willing to take over the UN soon. And please, they need to check their activities in Congo, because we are also tired of Congo being exploited and plundered so much to this extent. To be honest with you, maybe we could do an exchange. African heads of state should come and take over the European states, and the Europeans, what they call study exchange of politics. Yeah. That could kind of unite us. Thank you so much. And also, by the way, if they continue like this, I would recommend they would go for a kind of psychiatrist counseling all the World Bank heads at the moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can the people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Wow. People who would like to find me, actually, I'm not so much on social media, but they could email me. Shilosha, SHILOSHA 777@yahoo@gmail.com. So thank you so much, or shilosha@yahoo.com.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for hosting me, Kenganda.
Thank you.
And I hope to have another opportunity soon.
Definitely. Thank you. Guys, you can just head over to our YouTube channel. That is Kenganda on YouTube, and watch more of these conversations. Actually, a larger panel, an amazing podcast. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.